And I'd love to ask you, I know this is off the whim, but for both you, Med, what do you feel it means to be MindFit?
For me, what's jumping out is truth and clarity. So there was a point, I gave a speech at an event in Sydney, going back about 18 months now, where I had the opportunity to get up and talk really honestly about who I was and what was hard for me and some of the relationships in my life in a public setting, and own some stuff that I hadn't before. And in that process, it gave me a lot of clarity as to who I was and where I was heading. And again, coming back to that 8 Mile example, it was a matter of, okay, I can put some truths out here that are now out in the public domain about me, set some standards that I can live up to. And here's some challenges as well from the market, customers and clients and family. There was some challenge in that, but that for me gave birth to a sense of stability and clarity and direction that felt MindFit. I'm clearer on who I am. I'm clear on where I'm heading, and I'm going to be a better family man, a better resource for those guys around me, a better mate, a better brother. So it encompasses all of that. You're right. It's not just the physical fitness. It's not just the spiritual fitness. It's not just the emotional fitness. It's, I think, for me, the umbrella over the whole lot.
Beautiful, man.
It's beautiful, man. I think with me, touches back on.
Oh, and do you know what that was? That was an alarm for our meeting that I haven't moved. Oh, there we go.
I believe that's a carton.
Yeah.
Of non-alcoholic beers.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think for me, MindFit touches back on that idea of that question that changed everything for me, of wanting to know what was going on in my head. And naturally that led down some avenues like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. It landed on NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and all these beautiful things that make us, question our self-limiting beliefs, which is a huge one, and just question that voice in your head, which I only found out a couple of weeks ago that not everyone has. Not everyone has a voice running in their head, which I found very fascinating. But for me, there was definitely that notion of strengthening my core values and how I think, how I behave, and how I function as a human being, just from a friendship level, from a relationship level, from a son to a brother, to everything.
Beautiful, man. It sounds like being MindFit, you can't really think it, you have to feel it.
Absolutely.
We can't think our way through things. I think that's a beautiful way that we teach men's work. Then with what we do is we logically learn it, put it into the body, and then we go take action. Because it's really important, because there's what I see within the men's work space, within the personal development space, there's these personal development junkies, these people that have read all the books, they've done all the retreats, they've done all the courses, but they're still miserable as fuck because they're missing the things. Like they've got all of the knowledge and they're learning, but it just stays up there. And so this, we're going to hopefully go and start talking about our intention in this podcast very shortly. But I'd just like to put in a space that if you continually listen to this podcast, there's going to be so many invitations that myself, Maddie and Dave and the guest speakers give you, and to go sink your teeth into and actually go try this stuff that we're talking about in real life. It may not work. And if it doesn't, fucking let us know, because we're not a dictatorship. But like if it does work, the only way it's going to work is that actually if you take on board this stuff that we're talking about and challenging people or giving advice to, and actually go try it out for yourself. And so it's, like logically learn it, put it into your body. And the reason to put it into your body is because it's with nearly everything in life, it's not the thing that we desire, it's the feeling that thing it's the feeling that thing gives us that we desire. And so through that feeling and that new, maybe uncomfortable, that new thing that we're trying, that's when the embodiment starts. That's when the change starts to happen. And so, Matty, I want to ask you and continue this conversation, man, around like what we're up to here, man. Why did we join forces and decide between the three of us, like we need to get a podcast going and get some more leverage and getting this message out to the masses, talk to them more about our intention and our purpose of the MindFit podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to sum it up in its simplest form, and this is in alignment with our vision and our belief and our values, is that we want to activate a generation of men, and we really want to let men know that there is a place that they can talk about their feelings and be heard, seen, feel safe, and have that beautiful outlet. I know with every single man I've spoken to within men's space, each and every single one of them have said have highlighted the importance of having a space like this. And you look at some incredibly successful people out there, not just men or women, but people that have a community where they can be seen, where they can be heard, where they do feel safe. It's a proven thing. It's something that I truly believe every human should have. So the purpose of this podcast is to bring awareness, and we're going to talk about concepts and ideas that are regularly spoken in men's circles, and the idea being that we want to try and mimic a men's circle as best we can in podcast format, where everyone is equal, everyone has a say, everyone's opinion is valued, and sometimes we'll have different opinions or opposing opinions, and it's an open discussion. We'll often invite people to join in on the discussion or try out some things that we regularly talk about inside of MindFit Gym HQ. And I think that about sums it up. Is there anything else you two want to add to that?
Matty, I think there's a word in there that you hit as part of that purpose statement. Activate a generation of men, and that activation for me is a really important one, because there's two things that jump out of that. There's activation in helping people take action, and as you said, it's one man rises, we all rise. We're doing this as a group, so this is as much for us as it is the community. We're going to take action on some really cool stuff. And the other definition that's jumping out for me is that idea of setting a light or lighting a fire underneath. So I'm looking forward with this podcast to setting fire to a number of concepts and cool conversations, and getting some really interesting characters sitting opposite us at the desk to have some amazing conversations about how they're activating in the world, and get that information out to us, our community, brotherhood, and listeners, which in what I'm sure will be all over the world as this thing grows. I think we're going to help ourselves and others play a much, much bigger game with every step we take with this adventure. And I think we're going to really go there, and go there meaning go deep, go serious, get into some pretty heady topics over the coming months and years. So looking forward to walking this path with the two of you, and every man out there and their partners and everyone in their lives that's going to get on board the journey and go big from here.
Fuck yes to all of that. And just to live in alignment with what you're saying. This is nothing that we've spoken about before we did the notes. So I'd like to talk about something, a topic, if you don't mind, man. And it ties back into everything that we're saying, but the word is legacy. And so we're looking at this activating a generation of men. And so why the fuck, what does that really mean at its core? We know what it means, because I could definitely say that I've been activated. Now, if I look back to who I used to be, and I don't want to speak about, actually I will. And so this is a big generalization, But I think that where the world is right now, across the planet, that men, as a generalization, are people pleasers. Just a bunch of nice guys, yes men, that aren't standing in their truth, that aren't standing in their values, that avoid conflict, that aren't chasing their dream, that they're living in the fucking matrix, and they're just succumbing to like, oh, this is what life is. And so many men had their head buried and just in fucking survival mode. Now, to me, that's not activated. That's fucking men grinding, Groundhog Day, and never ever putting their head up and just getting to the crossroads and asking for change. So for me, I think activating is the more openly and transparently and vulnerably and rawly and more accessible we can make these conversations for men to listen to, could be that thing to activate them to stick their head up out of survival mode and ask that question of themselves, who the fuck am I and what am I supposed to be doing here?